Hello there. My video today is about the obvious. The obvious, it's the thing that's staring you right in your face, looking right at you. There it is. You know, the obvious could be something simple as a billboard or something you see right in front of you. That's the obvious, right? Um, uh, I don't know how everyone has their. I can't speak for everyone. Everybody has their interpretation as of what they will see with these two eyes. That begins to tell them that is that is my story of what just happened to me. That is my story of the past. That is my rendition, or people use the word narrative, right? And depending upon how much you are allowing excuses to guide you through life as to why you're not in the place that you are supposed to be, or how much you're allowing, and I'm using that word carefully because we're not supposed to, even though they tell us we shouldn't, name it and blame it. There are things in no uncertain terms that, just like if you were to take a stone and you threw it in the water, it will make a ripple effect. That is laws. That what you're looking at is not just something that happens. These are specific physics things that how they work. Same like you set up a bunch of dominoes, right? You hit one, boom, 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 boom. It will have a repetitive effect, right? The very word effect, that in so many ways that people would use it, is that thing. It's like that trail that happens after this happens here, cause and effect, right? Whatever, how can I say, you can have an accident happen, and you can have so many different people observing it, and they all have their own, from where they are, right? They will see that, and that is their rendition of what went on. Now, the people who were actually involved directly in whatever that was going on there, they were the recipient of the obvious. They could tell you the best version of it because they were right there, smack dab in the middle, experiencing the emotions, the things that happened the 2 seconds, the 2 minutes, 2 hours before the obvious. Um, it is the truth. People, when they've had claims, they've been in accidents, and they're just using this as an example. But people have lied. They won't tell you the whole thing because they're afraid they're going to be held liable, right? The guy could have been on a cell phone. He could have got something that's basically said. I'll just give an example. Something that threw him off, and that very mere second of that time frame, that was the obvious. One thing led to another, boom, and he was distracted, boom, and then this happened, boom, right? But the obvious took place a few minutes, or even 10 minutes ago, whatever, right? When we have our situations in our life, or whatever experiences we're having, the main crux of the matter, and the main place that you want to approach and go after in your life, is the obvious. It is so obvious. People will present themselves to you in your daily walk, in your daily life, in your transactions, your interactions. I'll give you an example. Um, I'm just getting a little bit metaphysical, right? Guy's going in for a job, or woman's going in for a job, right? The job's not meant for her or him, right? And what I mean it wasn't a good fit. They were not going to work correctly in that position, right? But lo and behold, survivalism and desperation, all these other things play a role. And we're taught to just interview, and, we got to keep up the ego, or the old pleasing bit that, hey, I had an interview today and I got the job, right? But just veering away a little bit from that. The obvious. So a person gets up in the morning and everything starts, just an example, metaphor. But I'm going to put it in the area of the metaphysical because I've experienced it quite a few times. And you say, after a while, you're going to go, wait a second here. There's something happening here. That, like somebody's telling me stuff and I'm not paying attention to the obvious, right? And you may be able to sleep really good, but before that, well, they say, well, it's due to your nervous system and so on and so forth. Yes and no. But before you had that interview, right? You had so many a certain type of incidences, small little trickles of the obvious in your pathway before you made it to that interview or wherever it is you go in your marriage, whatever. We're going to use the job interview. Marriage is a whole different thing, right? And people don't pay attention to the obvious. So now they get into the interview, and the obvious is really your guardian, because so many times it is still going to warn you up to the very last second when you made the commitment. Now, God honors commitment, right? So once you get into that job, right, that job or whatever you're going to do, whatever you're going to get into, it really, in so many ways, it is a commitment. You're in there. You're in there with 2 feet. That's it. Boom, they own you, or whatever it is owns you, right? You're not free anymore. Whatever choices you made, and the obvious always is there in front of your face, and that's uh, for a lot of times people miss the obvious because the obvious is too simple to look at. It is too obvious. It has to be more complex than this. It has to be more. Well, it has to match my ego. I'm not saying that for everyone, right? But I'm more of a complicated person, like I'm intelligent. This is just, no, that couldn't mean it. No, right? You go into the interview, for instance, right? And the people who are interviewing you and them don't have a good match. And everything is telling you in the environment to that point. That's the obvious, telling you that you and this situation here is going to not have a good ending. It's not going to have a good time. And here's the interesting but the obvious. If you would have might have stayed, see, this is where the metaphysical part of it, because I can tell you from experience, it really is truth. But it's a matter of waiting things out, which is tough for people. But if you did not take when the obvious was showing you stuff there, if you didn't take it, you would have waited another week. You would have found the very thing that was perfect, that was the exact fit for you. It's unique because every single person is unique. They have a unique identifier, just like in circuits, just like in how things are made. Everything is made specifically for a purpose. And we as human beings are specifically designed and unique to a specific purpose we've been born to. Now, born into, the into part is the growing into it, right? But ignoring the obvious signs of anything, it's going to cost more than anything else in life, because the obvious should never, ever be ignored. And I can't go into it whatever your obvious is. Like people say, well, obviously, right? Well, most of the time, obviously only happens after the fact, right? Before the facts, in the middle of the facts, yeah. That's why people like going to theater, because they like to go to the script, the play, and the end, the final place is the obvious. Well, I never expected that. Oh, I love the way that was played out. Well, wow. I would never have thought the twist in that script or that plot, right? Even when people are going to get deceived, they're going to get messed over even by a friend, or even there's the obvious. It's always there. Things that people do right before your very eyes. It's like you gotta go. No, I can't. That's not really happening. I'm just saying ignore that. No, right? Like, right? I don't see that. I don't want to look at the obvious, right? But yet the obvious is staring you in the face. And then, like, I'm going to get off track on this, but I mean, you're about to marry somebody, and on the obvious, like, you can't turn for a quick second. You can swear she turned into a witch or something. You go, whoa. You go, she just did a funny look in her face there. And you go, where did that come from? That was the obvious. Or even with the girl, go to marry a guy, right? He'll make a comment out of nowhere and you're going to go, what? Well, that's the obvious. I see, that's those little snippets of truth. It's called the snippers, the snippets of reality. Now that's real. Because reality, even put into real, you realize things. You have your real, what you see with eyes, real eyes. So I don't know how much of a dynamic inspiration I've created, made for you to say, but whatever you are going to go into, whatever you're going to take, whatever direction you're about to, whatever decisions you're about to make, don't ignore the obvious signs. And you know, so many times the obvious will never warn you when it's good for you. It seems a lot of times the obvious is always with the truth. It's always with the sincere. It's always with the safe. So it rests. But the obvious seems to show itself when it's not safe, when it's not good, or when it's the enemy of obvious, when it's the enemy of truth, when it's the enemy of the light, right? But it is in so many ways like a little kid coming tugging at your shirt and to distract you from your spell. The obvious. It's a beautiful gift to actually encounter and not ignore. Not ignore. Do not ignore the obvious. And as I'm starting this channel, you know, I and this is with my heart, really, because I really would like to see that I really do like I've made some pretty interesting decisions in my life. Like, whew. But you know, now I'm 62. I think I've learned enough to say that I have a YouTube channel for one reason alone. Some of you folks out there who have really beautiful souls and you're sweet and you're tender-hearted, if I can anyway have an impact and encourage and inspire some of you for making some really doodly doos, man, in life, it is worth everything. Because when whatever happens wipes that smile off your face and takes the joy out of your heart, oh, the depth of pain it leaves ain't funny. So with that, I'm gonna say I would love you to just do this, man. Just like and describe. I mean, not describe. Subscribe. Yeah, that's it. Subscribe and like. Okay. You all have a beautiful day. I love you for whatever that means. Okay. I mean it. I mean it. You know that love, that word gets thrown around quite a bit, but I do. I love you as an audience, whoever's looking. That we really need to care for each other, and we don't want to care for the sociopaths. We want to help them to find light, right? But we want to help the people who don't want to end up messed up. Have a good day. Don't ignore the obvious.